You ever have one of those nights where something inside you just snaps? No warning, no buildup, just crack, and suddenly your whole life feels like a goddamn lie? It happened on a Thursday. A plain, stupid Thursday. I came home from work early, surprise flowers in hand, thinking I'd be the good husband for once. Instead, I walked into my house and into my living room and saw my wife, Emily, on the couch, tangled up with my so-called best friend, Logan. It wasn't just the sight. It was the sounds. The kind you never forget, no matter how many drinks you down or walls you punch. I stood there like a fool, flowers slipping from my fingers, petals scattering across the hardwood like a funeral procession for the man I used to be. Emily didn't even jump up. She just looked over her shoulder, smirked like a devil in human skin, and said, "Oh, you're home early." No shame. No fear. Just that smirk, the kind that strips the soul right off your bones. And Logan? The guy I'd bailed out of jail, loaned money to, trusted with everything? He didn't even bother to cover himself. Just threw me a lazy shrug, like I was the problem for interrupting their little performance. My voice cracked when I spoke, and I hated myself for it. "How long?" I croaked. Emily stretched like a cat, not bothering to pull her dress down, and said casually, "Does it matter? You weren't enough anyway." Right then, something inside me died, something big, something important. But I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just stared at her, memorizing every inch of that smug face, because I knew she wasn't getting away clean. I turned around and walked out without another word. But the nightmare wasn't done with me yet. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat in my truck in a gas station parking lot, replaying it over and over, trying to figure out what the hell had gone wrong. I loved her. I gave her everything. Wasn't that enough? Apparently not. Around 3 a.m., still shaking, still furious, I decided to do something I'd never done before. Dig. Dig until I found every last secret she thought she buried. I started with her phone. Yeah, I had ways. Years working in IT had their perks. It didn't take long before the messages started pouring in: screenshots, hidden apps, secret conversations. Emily wasn't just screwing Logan. No, she had a damn rotation. Different guys for different moods. Sometimes 2 in one night, while I worked late shifts to keep our mortgage paid. Photos. Videos. Explicit, degrading, disgusting stuff she would never even pretend to do with me. Each message was a dagger to the gut, but I kept going. Because the more I saw, the less I felt. By sunrise, I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't sad. I was cold. Ice running through my veins. And then I found the final blow. Buried deep in a group chat with one of her friends, some chick named Brittany, Emily joked that she wasn't even sure if our youngest daughter, Sophie, was mine. Brittany laughed and wrote, "Girl, with the way you get around, you need a DNA test for all of them." And Emily? She just sent back laughing emojis. No denial. No guilt. Just laughter. That's when the world stopped spinning for me. That's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. By 8 a.m., I was at a DNA testing center. No breakfast. No coffee. Just raw, shaking hands clutching cotton swabs and legal forms. I tested all 3 of my kids. My babies. The ones I'd kissed goodnight every day for years. The ones I'd worked myself half to death to support. The ones I thought were mine. I sat in my car after the tests, feeling like a ghost, staring blankly at the dashboard. What if they weren't? What if everything I'd built my world around was just another one of Emily's filthy lies? I should have been praying, hoping, begging. But instead, somewhere deep down, I already knew. 3 days later, the results came in. I sat on the edge of our bed, no, her bed now, with the envelopes trembling in my hands. Each one felt like a live grenade, and my fingers itched to throw them away, to stay ignorant, to pretend that maybe, somehow, things weren't as bad as they seemed. But pretending was what got me here in the first place. I tore open the first envelope. Sophie, 0% match. The paper nearly slipped from my hand. My breath caught in my throat. 0. Not even a chance. She wasn't mine. I went for the second. Ethan, 0% match. I laughed. I actually laughed. A sharp, broken sound that scared even me. 2 for 2. Maybe I was the idiot all along, running around playing family man while Emily was treating our marriage like a goddamn audition reel. The third envelope felt heavier than both the others combined. I knew, deep inside my rotting, shriveled heart, I knew what it would say. Lily, 0% match. 3 kids. 3 strangers. All those Christmas mornings, all the scraped knees I bandaged, the bedtime stories, The late-night ER runs, none of it mattered. None of it was real. I was just a wallet with a warm body attached, good for bills and appearances. I sat there for maybe an hour, maybe a year, staring at those 3 sheets of paper until the ink blurred. Then, something inside me hardened. Not broke, hardened. I was done being the nice guy. I was done being the fool. It was time to return the favor. That night, I waited for her. I cooked dinner, set the table, poured the wine, played the part perfectly. She walked in around 7, heels clicking across the floor, phone glued to her ear, laughing at something some other man probably said. When she saw me, the candles, the food, the wine, she blinked, caught off guard for the first time in what felt like years. "Well, this is a surprise," she said, tossing her purse onto the couch without a care in the world. "What's the occasion?" I smiled. Big, warm, sincere. "I just realized something important today," I said. She tilted her head, studying me like she didn't know whether to be suspicious or amused. I pulled out her chair, gentleman to the end. We ate. We drank. She babbled on about her day, about nothing, about how busy she was with errands, probably still slick from whatever backseat adventure she'd just come from. Her voice grated against my skull, each fake laugh a fresh punch to the gut. I waited until she was halfway through her second glass of wine before I set the 3 envelopes on the table between us. She frowned, confused. "What's that?" I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "Open them," I said. She hesitated. Her instincts must have finally kicked in because her hand trembled as she reached for the first envelope. She opened it. "Read it." Her smile faltered. She opened the second. Paled. By the third, she was trembling so hard she nearly dropped the paper. When she looked up at me, her eyes were wide, panicked, the fake confidence finally ripped away. You did DNA tests on our kids?" she whispered, like I was the villain here. "Our kids," I said, voice calm, almost gentle. Funny choice of words, Emily. She opened her mouth to deny it, to lie, to twist it all like she always did, but the words stuck in her throat. For once, she had no script, no backup plan, just her lies laid bare on the table between us. She tried anyway. "Of course she did. They're still yours," she said, voice cracking. "You raised them. It doesn't matter what—" I stood up, chair scraping loudly across the floor. "It matters to me," I said, each word slicing through the air like a knife. "It matters that I built my life around a lie. It matters that every time I kissed them goodnight, you were laughing behind my back." She stood too, hands shaking, mascara starting to run. "It was a mistake," she cried. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way. A mistake. 3 kids by 3 different men. A mistake. You didn't mean to climb into every bed in town?" I said, laughing that same hollow laugh again. "You didn't mean to lie every single day of our lives?" Her lip curled then, the real Emily showing herself at last, mask finally slipping. "You weren't enough," she spat. "You never were. Always working late, always tired, always boring. I needed more. And if you had been half a man, maybe." I moved so fast she didn't even finish the sentence. Not hitting her, never that, but grabbing my jacket, my keys, my dignity off the floor where she'd thrown it years ago. I turned at the door. "You'll hear from my lawyer tomorrow," I said coldly. "And Emily?" She froze, mascara streaked and shaking. "You better pray I don't tell them who their real fathers are." I slammed the door behind me so hard the windows rattled. Outside, the night was freezing, but I didn't feel it. Inside, for the first time in years, I finally breathed. I didn't go to a friend's house. Didn't rent a motel room. I drove around aimlessly for hours, engine humming under me, trying to outrun the roaring inside my own skull. I ended up at a bar on the edge of town. The kind of place where no one asked questions and the lighting was so dim you could barely see your own reflection in the bottle. I nursed a whiskey for what felt like forever, playing scenes from our life together in my head, like some sick twisted slideshow. Our wedding day. Her holding Ethan for the first time. Sophie's second birthday party, where she swore she'd never been happier. All of it fake. All of it a setup. At some point, I pulled out my phone, almost without thinking. I still had access to her cloud account. Years of photos, videos, text backups. Evidence. At first, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Then it hit me. I didn't want just revenge. I wanted devastation. Scrolling through the files, I found videos she had no idea were even saved, sickening proof of her girls' nights out, those business trips she lied about. There she was, laughing with strangers, sitting on random guys' laps, grinding on dance floors like some damn teenager. And not just once or twice. Dozens of times. God, the rage was like acid in my veins. And that's when the idea clicked into place. I wasn't going to scream at her. I wasn't going to fight her for custody of kids that weren't even mine. No. I was going to bury her reputation so deep she'd never crawl out of it. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, Mr. Daniels, old school, ruthless, exactly the type you want when you're about to torture life to the ground and walk away smiling. He listened without interrupting as I laid it all out, the cheating, the kids, the DNA results, the videos. When I was done, he leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. You understand, he said slowly, if you go public with this, it's going to destroy her. That's the point, I said. He smiled grimly and nodded. Within 24 hours, the papers were filed. Divorce citing fraud, infidelity, and emotional abuse. A motion to annul paternity responsibilities. Full release of evidence to the court. And the final nail, an anonymous tip sent to her workplace. It turned out Emily's little job at a nonprofit had a strict morality clause. One good scandal, and she was out. Guess what happened by the end of the week? Fired. Publicly. The best part? I didn't even have to show up to the hearing. She caved immediately, too scared of what else I might have. I didn't stop there. The day after her termination, I mailed copies of the paternity results, anonymously, of course, to her parents, her friends, her church group, even to Brittany, her little partner in crime, with a sweet note attached. Thought you should know who you're laughing with. I imagined Emily opening envelope after envelope, her perfect little fake world crumbling with every page. The thought kept me warm at night. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my new apartment. Puffy eyes. Disheveled hair. Looking like life had finally hit her back. She banged on the door until I opened it. I stood there, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. Please, she whispered, voice breaking. Please, can we just talk? I stared at her. At the woman I once would have taken a bullet for. And all I felt was emptiness. She reached for me, that manipulative little move she always used, the trembling hands, the glistening eyes. I stepped back. You're poison, I said quietly. And I'm done drinking. She broke right there, sobbing so loudly the neighbors probably heard, collapsing onto the hallway floor like some washed-up actress begging for one more scene. I shut the door in her face. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without nightmares. No tossing, no turning. Just peaceful, silent sleep. The final realization was settling in. She never loved me. Not really. She loved what I gave her. What I could give her. And when that wasn't enough, she hunted for more, like a leech that drains you dry and moves on without a second thought. 3 months passed. You'd think the rage would fade, that time would sand down the sharp edges. It didn't. If anything, the silence made it worse. I moved into a smaller place on the other side of town. Different grocery stores, different gym, different routes to work. I didn't want to bump into anyone from the old life. Didn't want to answer the looks or the questions. The world still spun, but I wasn't part of it anymore. I floated outside of it, like a ghost that hadn't realized he was already dead. I drank more than I should have. Slept less than I needed. Every time my phone buzzed, I flinched, half expecting it to be her, another sobbing voicemail, another empty apology. She tried, of course. Texts, emails, even handwritten letters, like that would somehow make her betrayal more romantic, less filthy. I didn't reply to a single one. Some nights, I'd sit on the balcony, nursing a beer, reading those letters just to see how low she could crawl. She said she was sorry, that she loved me, that she made a mistake, that the kids needed me. The kids. The ones that weren't even mine. Sometimes that part hurt worse than her betrayal. Those kids didn't ask for this. They didn't choose who their mother was. But I wasn't their father. And I never would be again. One Friday night, just as I was convincing myself to delete all her messages once and for all, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I would have ignored it. But something told me to pick up. A man's voice, nervous, rushed. Is this Eric? Yeah, I said cautiously. The guy cleared his throat. My name's Travis. I think we need to talk. It's about Emily. Every cell in my body went rigid. What about her? There was a long pause. I think she's setting you up. We met an hour later at a 24-hour diner across town. Grimy floors, greasy food, no questions asked. Travis was younger than me, maybe mid-20s. Shaggy hair, cheap clothes, twitchy hands. He slid into the booth across from me and wasted no time. I used to see her, he said, not meeting my eyes. A while back. She told me she was separated. Said you were abusive. Said you didn't care about the kids. She made me think she was trapped with some controlling psycho. I laughed bitterly. Of course she did. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. He shifted uncomfortably. Because she reached out again last week. Said she needed me to lie if anyone asked. That you were threatening her. That she was scared for her life. He finally looked up, guilt written all over his face. I don't want to be part of this anymore, man. She's trying to ruin you. I just thought you should know. I stared at him, heartbeat pounding against my ribs. It wasn't enough for her to destroy our marriage. She wanted to destroy me. Frame me as a violent monster. Take everything I had left. The depth of her betrayal was staggering. I paid for Travis's coffee, shook his hand, and walked out into the freezing night air, my mind spinning. Emily wasn't finished. But neither was I. The next morning, I did what I should have done from the beginning. I went straight to the police. Not to get her arrested, not yet. I wanted to get ahead of whatever storm she was brewing. I filed a statement. Gave them copies of Travis's texts, the DNA results, the divorce papers, everything. The officer, a tough-looking woman named Detective Harris, listened carefully, taking notes. You're not the first, she said when I finished. I blinked. What do you mean? Emily's had 2 restraining orders against other men in the past, she said grimly. Both dropped after a lack of evidence. Now you're her next target. She leaned in, lowering her voice. Be careful. Women like her? They don't stop until they destroy everything. I nodded, throat dry. I left the station feeling like I'd stepped out of one nightmare and straight into another. A week later, it happened. A knock on my door. 2 uniformed cops. They said there'd been a complaint. That Emily alleged I was harassing her, threatening her safety, stalking her. They said they had to investigate. I invited them inside. I showed them everything. The texts, the cloud backups, the legal documents. They left after an hour, apologizing quietly, promising to make sure it went into the file. But the damage was done. Word spread like wildfire in town. Whispers. Looks. Some people believed her lies. I didn't care. I knew the truth. And now, so did the law. The rumors were a sickness, spreading faster than the truth ever could. Everywhere I went, it was the same. Sideways glances at the grocery store, whispers at the gas station, awkward silences when old acquaintances saw me walk in. I wasn't just the guy whose wife cheated anymore. I was the dangerous ex, the unstable husband, the potential threat. Emily was winning, at least on the surface. But under the surface? I was gathering every piece of evidence, every testimony, every scrap of her lies. I wasn't going to win this by shouting louder. I was going to win by letting her set herself on fire. 2 weeks after the police visit, I got a call from Detective Harris. You're going to want to come down to the station, she said. Something's happened. The way she said it made my stomach knot. When I arrived, she handed me a manila envelope. Inside were screenshots, videos, messages. Emily had been sloppy. Real sloppy. Turns out, in her desperation to bury me, she'd roped in another man, some idiot named Chad, promising him love, future plans, the usual garbage. In return, she tried convincing him to fabricate fake police reports, stage harassment incidents, even plant evidence at my apartment. She put it all in writing. Because she thought Chad was that stupid. But Chad, apparently smarter than he looked, panicked and turned everything over to the police before it got him in trouble. Now Emily was facing charges, obstruction of justice, filing false reports, conspiracy. I laughed when Detective Harris told me. I couldn't help it. It was the first real laugh I'd had in months, loud, raw, full of all the madness I'd bottled up. She's going to jail, Harris said. Maybe not for long, but enough. It wasn't just justice. It was poetic. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. There was still the matter of my reputation, still the matter of cleaning the wreckage she'd left behind. I hired a PR guy, Nick, sharp as a razor. We crafted a full public statement, calm, factual, undeniable. DNA tests, her affair with Logan, the fraudulent reports, her getting fired for misconduct, her criminal charges. We didn't slander. We didn't exaggerate. We just told the truth, loudly. By the end of the week, my name was cleared. People who had believed her started reaching out, some apologizing, some too ashamed to say anything but offering weak smiles when they saw me. It didn't matter. I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. One night, as I sat on my new balcony overlooking the city lights, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Please, just talk to me. I stared at the screen, heart thudding once, hard. I knew it was Emily. Somehow, even after everything, part of me still wanted to ask why. Why betray me? Why lie? Why rip our life apart and then try to destroy me when you were caught? But I didn't text back. Some questions don't deserve answers. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. A week later, the divorce finalized. No alimony. No child support. No visitation rights. Nothing. It was like wiping a parasite off my skin, painful but necessary. She tried showing up at court that day, crying, makeup smeared, wearing some pathetic-looking dress like she was the victim. The judge barely even looked at her. He granted everything in my favor without blinking. When the gavel slammed down, it felt like a shot echoing through my chest. Freedom. Real freedom. The night after the divorce, I drove past our old house one last time. The windows were dark. The lawn was overgrown. The for sale sign hung crooked, swaying in the wind. It didn't look like a home anymore. It looked like a tombstone. Good. It deserved to rot. I pulled away without looking back. Life after Emily wasn't a sunrise or some fresh new chapter like people always say. It was a slow crawl through broken glass. Mornings felt hollow. Evenings felt worse. There were days I didn't speak to another human being. Days I didn't even bother getting out of bed. Grief is a funny thing. You think it's reserved for death, but betrayal? Betrayal buries you alive. Sometimes I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text her about something stupid, a funny meme, a memory, and then remember. She was a ghost. Or maybe I was. The world had moved on. I hadn't. One night, after another 12-hour shift and another dinner eaten straight out of a takeout bag, I got a call from an old friend I hadn't heard from since before everything went to hell. Brandon. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding, who toasted to forever. He didn't dance around it. Hey, man. I heard what happened. I should have called earlier. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't used to people caring anymore. We're throwing a party next weekend, he said. No pressure. But maybe you should come. Get your head out of the wreckage for a while. For a second, I wanted to say no. Hide. Drink myself into another numb night. But something in me, maybe the last shred of the man I used to be, said yes. The night of the party, I almost didn't go. Sat in my car outside Brandon's house for 15 minutes, engine running, debating whether to just peel away into the darkness. But I didn't. I killed the engine, took a breath, and stepped inside. The noise hit me first, laughter, music, life. It felt alien. And then, in the middle of the crowd, I saw her. Ashley. Not the Ashley from high school I barely remembered, but a version of her that hit like a freight train now. Long dark hair. Sharp eyes. A crooked smile that didn't try to hide how unimpressed she was with the world. She caught me staring, smirked, and raised an eyebrow like, "What took you so long?" For the first time in what felt like centuries, I smiled back, a real smile, small but genuine. We didn't fall into some cheesy movie cliché that night. No drunken confessions. No sloppy hookups. Just conversation. Real, simple, honest conversation. And damn, I had forgotten how good that could feel. Over the next few weeks, Ashley and I became something. Not a relationship. Not yet. More like two wounded animals sniffing around each other, trying to figure out if it was safe. She had her own scars, a cheating ex, a life plan shattered at the knees. We understood each other without having to say much. Late-night talks. Long walks around the city when the streets were empty. Sitting on park benches at 2 a.m., swapping stories and silences. It wasn't love. It was something deeper at first, survival. Recognition. Two broken things, not trying to fix each other. Just existing, side by side. Then, just when I thought maybe the worst was behind me, Emily crawled back into my life like the cockroach she was. I was at the grocery store, arms full of crap I didn't need, when I turned a corner and almost collided with her. She looked worse than before. Thinner. Harsher. The bitterness had eaten away whatever softness used to exist in her face. "Eric," she breathed, like she hadn't ruined me. I didn't move. Didn't speak. She stepped closer. "I'm pregnant," she said. It took me a second to process. Another second to stop myself from laughing in her face. Not my problem. Not my burden. "Congratulations," I said coldly, stepping past her like she was a stranger. She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "It's yours." I yanked my arm away. "You wish." Her face twisted into something ugly, something desperate. "You owe me," she hissed under her breath. I turned, stared her dead in the eyes, and said, loud enough for everyone in the aisle to hear, "I don't owe you a goddamn thing." And then I walked away, leaving her standing there, furious, and alone, just like she deserved. I didn't look back at Emily in that grocery store. Didn't let her see if my hands were shaking or if my heart was hammering in my chest. She didn't deserve to know. Once I hit the parking lot, I tossed the groceries into the back seat, slammed the door harder than I meant to, and just sat there for a minute, fist clenched on the steering wheel. Pregnant. Claiming it was mine. The audacity was almost impressive if it hadn't been so disgusting. I knew it was a lie. Another desperate attempt to claw back some control. She saw her life spiraling, and like the true parasite she was, she tried to latch back onto the nearest host. Not this time. Not ever again. I didn't tell Ashley about the run-in right away. Not because I was hiding it. Because I needed time to burn it out of my system before I let it infect anything good in my life again. Ashley wasn't Emily. She didn't deserve the fallout. But secrets, even ones you keep to protect someone, have a way of poisoning you from the inside. One night, after dinner at her place, after a lot of awkward silence and half-started sentences, I finally told her everything. From the DNA results to the police visits, to Emily's pathetic little ambush at the store. Ashley didn't say anything for a long time. She just sat there, running her thumb over the rim of her wine glass, like she was thinking harder than she ever had in her life. Finally, she looked at me, not with pity, not with judgment, with anger, but not at me. "She's not going to stop," she said quietly. "You know that, right?" I nodded. "I know." "Then what are you going to do about it?" The next morning, I called my lawyer again, told him everything that had happened, told him about her claim. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Let's bury her." Properly this time. By the end of the week, we had filed a restraining order, submitted evidence that showed a clear, escalating pattern of harassment and manipulation. We even filed for slander and emotional damages. If she wanted war, she'd finally understand what it felt like to lose. The court date came faster than I expected. Emily showed up, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was a mess. Her dress hung off her like she'd lost 20 pounds she couldn't afford to lose. There was a twitch in her jawline, a tell of someone who knew they were about to lose everything. She tried to play the victim again, sobbing about how I abandoned her, how she was pregnant and alone. The judge barely even glanced at her. The evidence was too strong. Her lies were too obvious. Restraining order granted. Slander suit pending. And a final warning. If she contacted me again, she'd face criminal charges. When the gavel fell, she stood there like someone had ripped the earth out from under her. I didn't gloat. Didn't smile. I just walked out of that courtroom without a word. Without looking back. Ashley was waiting for me outside. No questions. No speeches. Just her, standing there like a lighthouse in the middle of the storm. I didn't realize how badly I needed that, the calm, the steadiness, until I saw her. We didn't talk much on the drive back to my place. Didn't need to. When we got home, we sat on the couch, her legs thrown over mine, my hand tracing slow circles on her knee. For the first time in a long, long time, I let myself believe it was over. The storm had passed. And whatever was left of me, whatever pieces hadn't been broken beyond repair, maybe, just maybe, they could still be put back together. Months passed. The noise faded. The call stopped. The stares disappeared. Emily vanished from my life like a bad dream you finally wake up from, the kind where you check yourself after and wonder how the hell it ever felt real. The court cases were done. The paperwork finalized. The last time I ever heard her name was in a short email from my lawyer. She accepted the settlement. No appeals filed. That was it. No dramatic ending. No final showdown. Just silence. The sweetest sound I'd ever known. Ashley and I didn't rush anything. We moved slow, like two people learning to walk again after being paralyzed for years. There were moments I wanted to push her away. Moments where the fear would claw up my throat. Fear of being fooled again, gutted again. But she never forced it. Never demanded more than I could give. She just stayed. Patient. Solid. And somewhere along the way, the fear started to die. Replaced by something terrifying but beautiful. Hope. One night, long after midnight, we were lying in bed, the soft hum of the city in the distance, and Ashley asked me something. "If you could go back," she said, voice soft against the dark, "if you could change it, would you?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. About everything I lost. Everything Emily took. The man I used to be. And I surprised myself with the answer. "No," I said. "I wouldn't change a damn thing. Because without the betrayal, without the collapse, without the fire, I never would have found out who I really was. I never would have found her. I never would have learned what love isn't and what it really, truly is. If you're reading this, if you're sitting there bleeding out from betrayal, thinking you'll never breathe again, listen to me. You will. It'll hurt like hell. It'll break you down to dust. But one day, without even realizing it, you'll wake up and find that the person who tried to destroy you is actually the one who set you free. And the best revenge you can ever have. The sweetest, coldest, most satisfying revenge is living better without them. Living free. Living real. And never, ever looking back.